Hello, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Jessica Parsons. I recognize quite a few names from some of the earlier sessions today. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jessica Parsons, and I am one of the OER specialists here at Paradise Valley Community College. And my job is to help faculty to create OER materials and find open educational resources across the internet that they can use in their courses, whether that's converting an entire textbook or whether that's simply finding some things to supplement the materials that they already have. So in this presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about what OER is and how to use it and find it for your own courses. And then there'll be a nice big chunk of time at the end of the session to go over any questions you might have or help you identify specific resources if that's something that you're interested in. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the big question is, what are open educational resources? So open educational resources are teaching and learning materials that you can freely use however you would like to in your courses. These are free for you to use. These are free for your students to access. But more than that, they are free for you to make changes to. They are available to you to build upon. It's sort of this Lego idea of content where you have your own Lego brick, which is your information and your knowledge that you would like to teach in your class. You can add your Lego to other people's Lego towers, or you can take some of the pieces from their Lego tower to build your own. It's really a fantastic way to be able to have control over your content, but also to customize the content for your students. Use examples and the latest and greatest research from your field as well. And then to make it available in turn for anyone else to be able to use it and continue to build and grow these materials. So that's a brief introduction to what OER or open educational resources are. So what can be OER? Really, it's pretty limitless. We have the ability to make textbooks. Your Canvas courses can also be made OER or openly licensed. Readers, which are a Canvas course that is, you just simply click through it and it takes you step by step by step instead of a textbook where you would turn the pages. You click next on your Canvas course or a Blackboard course and you go through the textbook in that way. We also have new, it's called ModPress, which is Mariposa Open Digital Press. It is very similar to a reader where it's an online textbook. And 99% of those textbooks are going to be openly licensed, which is very exciting that we now have this opportunity to be able to independently publish things. Other things that can be open educational resources include handouts and quizzes, as well as your assignments and test banks. Things like media, like music and photos and videos that you've created or that others have created that you can use to add on to things. And whole courses, as well as individual pages and bits and pieces as well. So there is a lot that can be openly licensed under open educational resources. So when we start to talk about open educational resources, this is a very broad topic, like we just discussed. So the idea is, what counts as OER? What can we stick a pin in and say, okay, I can identify this as openly licensed open educational resources? Well, of course, there's everything that's inside of the public domain. The public domain is a treasure trove of things that the original authors, either the copyright has expired and so we can have access to it, or it is something that the author says, I don't need credit for this, or I don't need to collect royalties on this. I'm just going to make this freely available to anybody who wants to have access to it. Also, resources that are in the Creative Commons. The Creative Commons is a type of copyright where the creator or the author basically says, I want credit for this. I know I created this, but I want to make sure that my copyright includes the fact that you can use it however you would want to. You can add to it or make changes to it, and I have control over how it's used, but not necessarily the content itself word for word. Resources the creator grants permission for use. One of the things I do as an OER specialist is I go out, and when a teacher identifies a resource that maybe is copyrighted, I go out and get permission for them to be able to use that. I send an email or call up a publishing company and say, hey, we'd really like to use this in our Canvas course. Can we get written permission to do that? It's surprising, but at the same time, it's very encouraging how many content creators are out there who recognize all that faculty are trying to do for their students and how they're trying to cut down on costs, and how willing they are to work together with the faculty and allow them to use resources for free inside of their Canvas courses. It's very amazing, and it's something that I'm very, very proud that we've been able to offer our faculty here. And then also the resources that you create can be open educational resources, whether you choose to put them directly into the public domain or whether you intend to have a little bit more control and make them part of the Creative Commons. Things that you create can be used and built upon by others in our community here at the college and also across the country and the nation as well, or excuse me, the world as well. It is not anything that you access on the internet for free. A simple Google search for the name of your textbook will probably come up with a PDF. That does not mean that that resource is up there legally, and it does not give you permission to simply use it in your course however you would like or to make changes to it. So we have to be very careful when we're talking about open educational resources that we're talking about legally sourced open educational resources. And then also things such as fair use. Using a chapter or a page out of a textbook does not count as open educational resources. The same goes for the fact that when we reach out to a creator, if they don't release the material to us with a Creative Commons license, that does not mean that their content is free for us to do whatever we want and share it with others. It simply means that we have been given permission to use it in the way that they have detailed. So let's talk about that public domain for just a second. So usually when I say public domain, especially in front of students, the first thing that they will say is, aha, it's all that old stuff on the internet. Things like Pride and Prejudice, it's things like Shakespeare, but it goes far beyond that. And in fact, lots of companies are releasing things that are just available into the public domain because they see the power that can be created when a community has access to resources. So the public domain, to quote Wikipedia, a public domain source, the public domain consists of all the creative works to which no exclusive intellectual property rights apply. These rights may have expired, been forfeited, expressly waived, or may be inapplicable. For example, did you know that the movie, the cult classic Little Shop of Horrors, is technically in the public domain? The creators of the movie did not choose to license the movie properly. They didn't add a copyright to it at all. Therefore, once it became a major hit, anyone was able to do pretty much whatever they wanted with the movie and make spin-offs and license t-shirts and all of these different things because it wasn't copyrighted. In fact, they made a Broadway musical based off of Little Shop of Horrors. That Broadway musical is licensed. The movie, the source material, is not. It's very interesting, and you can definitely go down a rabbit hole with open educational resources exploring licenses. But trust me, they are not as complex as you might begin to think. of how do I identify this and what do I know what is copyrighted and how do I know what isn't copyrighted. I'm here to help, and there are some great resources out there to help you identify that. In fact, let's talk about some of those resources. So what is the Creative Commons? Well, basically it helps creators to legally share and give the rights to other content creators. It gives me the ability to create a PowerPoint slide, make it freely available to anybody else out there in the world, and tell them, hey, you have my legal permission to make changes to this and to build on this and make this PowerPoint better. That's all that the Creative Commons does. There are different levels of those licenses, however, and we're going to talk about those in just a second. So, the different levels of the Creative Commons license that you might commonly find on open educational resources go from very open to very restricted. So let's talk about that. If we look at this little arrow, if we start up at the top at this dark green section, we will see the first level of a Creative Commons license, which is CC0. That simply means that the creator has put a license on this that says, I put this in the public domain. I give everybody a free right to use it however they want. That's fantastic, and we love to see when creators do things like that. Going down the list, we see CC BY, or Creative Commons BY. That BY simply means, hey, I created something and I want you to be able to use it, but I'd like some credit. All that means is when we find a resource that has CC BY on it, we just want to make sure that we cite our sources. We say, hey, this was created by Rayon, and Rayon created this fabulous resource, and here you go. The next sort of level of restriction is Creative Commons BY, which means that we have to add that attribution or that citation, and share alike. Share alike simply means that whatever we use the resource for should also be made available to others. So for example, if I am going to take that resource that Rayon created, I'm going to take that and I'm going to add some more stuff to it, and I am going to make it even better. I'm going to cite Rayon, but I'm also going to make it available to all of you for you to in turn take what I've created and make it better. That simply means that the creator wants to make sure that their resource is never going to get locked behind a paywall, or somebody is going to take it and make something out of it that won't continue to grow the community. The next level is we have Creative Commons BY, but then we have this NC, or non-commercial. That simply means that whatever is created cannot turn a profit. That means that I can't take this resource that Rayon created, I can't make some changes to it, package it up, and try and sell it to anybody else. That means that it needs to stay freely available. There are different levels and different approaches to that non-commercial, but generally that means no profit can be made from this. It does not mean that you can't sell a textbook for the cost of the ink and the paper and the shipping. But what that means is you can't make profit over and above the cost of the materials. The next license sort of combines what we've seen before. It says that it's under the Creative Commons. We see that BY, so we know that we have to give attribution. We see that non-commercial, so we know that we can't make a profit from this. And we see that share alike, which means that I have to make sure that whatever I create with this material is open and available to anybody else who wants to do the same thing I did. Below that, we see probably what I would say is the least common, but something that we do see on occasion is Creative Commons BY, which means that we need to have that attribution, ND, non-derivative. This means that you are free to use this material, but I don't want you making any changes to it. So you can use it as is, but you can't make any changes to it, and you can't give anybody this material if you make any changes to it. So it's going to stay in its original format. This is still a great resource because if there's a textbook that has this non-derivative on it, you can still freely share it with your students. You just will tell them, hey, I want you to read this section on page 138. Come back and we will discuss it. That's all you have to do. And then one of the final Creative Commons levels is Creative Commons by, which means we need to have that attribution, non-commercial, so it can't be sold, and non-derivative, meaning that nothing can be changed about this material. So the least open would be copyright, which means that there is a copyright holder, they have complete control over the work, and they also likely make a profit off of the use of this material. So as you can see, we have everything from the most open, use it however you want, to use it, but very, very specifically. And I know this sounds confusing, and don't worry, you are not expected to memorize all of this. I will, however, have a little activity for us to help maybe reinforce some of these ideas. So get ready to type into the chat. So let's say we are given a bunch of bananas, and these bananas are licensed under the Creative Commons. We can see that each one of these bananas has a little Creative Commons tag like we might see on a textbook or on an assignment or another open educational resource. So let's take a second and let's, for each one of the bananas, see which ones could we take that banana, make some changes to it, and make banana bread to give to our students. This might seem like a very simplistic way of thinking about Creative Commons, but I swear it's a lot of fun. So go ahead and in the chat for a second, take your best guess about A, B, C, D, E, or A, B, C, D, and E. Can we use it to make banana bread? And is there any special requirement that we have to meet to go along with the license? I'll go ahead and give everybody a couple minutes to get that. Just to let you know, each one of these bananas are under the Creative Commons license. So we can use each one of these bananas. Or excuse me, let me rephrase that. Each one of these bananas is under the Creative Commons. So we can present all of these bananas to our students. But the question is, can we make something out of these bananas? So I see some answers in the chat, so let's go through them each individually together. So, A, yes, we can make banana bread out of this as long as we give credit for where we got the bananas. So I went down to Fry's and I bought these bananas and I made this banana bread for you students. That's all we have to do. For the next banana, B, we can't make banana bread out of this. What we can do is we can give this banana to our students and say, hey, I went to Fry's and I got this banana for you. We can't make any changes to it, but let's study the recipe for the banana bread and let's see how this would apply to the recipe. For C, yes, we can use that. We just have to make sure that we let them know where we got the banana bread, where we got the resource, and we can't sell the banana bread once it's been created. For D, yes, we can also use that banana to make something new. We just have to make sure that we let the students know where we got those materials. We can't sell the banana bread to them. And we have to make sure that we make the recipe or the materials that we created available to others. So this recipe for banana bread can't be a secret. We have to make sure that it's able to be shared with others. And then E, we can't make banana bread out of banana E. That's because while we would need to do attribution for it and we wouldn't be able to sell it, That ND or non-derivative simply means that we can't make any changes to it. But again, we can give it to our students and we can say, hey, study this and let's look at how it would apply to this recipe or this other concept. Does anyone have any questions about that? This is a very tricky subject, and do not worry if you ever have any questions about, is this openly licensed? Can I make changes to that? Do not hesitate to reach out to one of the OER specialists. That's what we're here for, is to make this as easy as possible. All right, I don't see any questions, but I will keep an eye on the chat for if they pop up. All right, so now we know what an OER material is. We know how to check the license. Now we're ready to go out and find some OER materials. The question is, where do we find them? What rock are they hiding under? Well, they aren't hiding. They're actually right out in plain sight. And it's really interesting. Now that you know about Creative Commons and these licenses, you're going to see them start popping up in a lot of different places. So for example, we have what's known as the OER Commons. And the OER Commons is a repository of all sorts of OER materials. So for example, if you teach English or you teach physics, you'll be able to go into the OER Commons and just type in the topic that you're looking for and find a whole bunch of materials. Merlot is also the same. It is an OER repository. YouTube, lots of creators on YouTube have licensed their materials openly. And YouTube even has the ability to filter down your results and look for openly licensed or public domain videos as well. Google. You can find OER materials simply by searching for, I'm looking for OER physics. And you'll find a ton of resources out there that you can sort through and see what works or what doesn't work. You can also search for specific topics. For example, if I wanted to search for an OER article about the Globe Theatre in the United Kingdom, I could just type that into Google and see a whole bunch of things pop up. One word of warning, anytime that you're going to go searching for these materials, always make sure that you're checking the license. Just because you told Google, I'm looking for an OER resource, does not mean that that search engine is going to return openly licensed materials. Sometimes the algorithm takes over and you never know what you're going to find. Wikimedia, which is a version of Wikipedia, but it houses pictures and videos, especially for historical landmarks and buildings and events and artifacts as well. There's so much media there. The Met, they have actually created an online gallery full of lots of their amazing, beautiful artwork. And a lot of that is licensed either under the public domain or is allowed to be used by faculty members for their courses. The Smithsonian as well has lots of resources, not only pictures and videos, but they also have a lot of lesson plans as well. The PVCC library has a ton of resources that you can use for OER. Our new OER librarian, Samantha Lang, has an amazing treasure trove of ideas for OER materials. And the OER specialists, we now work inside the library hand in hand with the librarians, which is a fantastic resource for us and for faculty as well. Pixabay is a great place to go for pictures. If you're looking for some things to make your Canvas courses look beautiful, they have so many images that you can use, and they're all in the public domain. Carnival Slides. I use Carnival Slides, and in fact, this presentation is from Carnival Slides. It just provides some free public domain templates that you are able to use to spice things up and make sure that you're not using the same slide deck over and over and over again to give things a little variety every time that the students log in. Oasis and Flickr and the Noun Project are also great if you're looking for different pictures or graphics to be able to use in your materials. I'm sorry, I skipped over Canvas Commons. Canvas Commons is inside of our Canvas LMS, and it provides you with Canvas courses and quizzes and resources that are openly licensed. That way you can import them directly into your Canvas course and just start building off of them from there. I will warn you though that sometimes individuals license things inside of Canvas Commons and it's not always entirely copyright free. So just make sure that you go through and look at those resources. And if you have any questions, don't forget, you can always come and you can always ask us. Project Gutenberg. I don't know if you guys have used Project Gutenberg before, but they are an online library and it is just amazing, the resources that they have. They've mainly focused on public domain works, and they can provide lots of different reading materials and examples for your students to be able to use to annotate or to simply read. And it's a great resource, especially for us book nerds out there. Lumen Learning has lots of courses that are complete. They are ready to go, and they are ready for you to use inside of your courses. They also offer some textbook options as well. Medium is also another graphics, and they have, and another version of Medium, there's two Mediums. One is for graphics and one is for articles that you can use and you can link into your Canvas courses as well. LibriVox is a audiobook company that works entirely in public domain recordings. So they will take something like Shakespeare or another public domain work, and they will record an audio version of it. And it's a great way for your students to be exposed to these different public domain books, but they're full cast audios. So it can be a little bit more interesting to listen to than sitting there and reading, or as I like to do, listen to the audiobook and read along in the book. That way you can keep straight the characters and all of these things. And then OER To Go is another great repository that can help you to quickly locate OER resources, entire courses, or even textbooks as well. So I know these are a lot of resources, and don't worry, this PowerPoint presentation will be available on the Learning Week website as soon as this presentation is over. This recording of this presentation will also be made available on that website as soon as WebEx finishes doing its magic and uploading everything. So now that we've talked a little bit about what is OER, how do we identify that it's OER, and where do we find it? What is the purpose of OER and what does it do for our students? Well, probably the first thing and the most popular thing that everybody brings up is this idea of equity, saving students money. Textbooks and course materials and access codes really add up. In fact, if we look at the average student who takes 12 credits a semester, and we look at them just taking a general education semester, they will probably spend as much on textbooks as they would on 3 credits. What does that mean for PVCC? Well, if we can cut down on the amount of textbooks and access codes that students have to purchase, they might be able to add another class to their semester. And that means a lot, especially for humanities or other areas or elective classes that might have trouble filling up. The more students who have the freedom to be able to go out and to give basically the students a scholarship every semester of, hey, we're saving you the cost of an entire course, the more students might be able to enroll. And studies have shown that students who do not have to pay hundreds of dollars for their textbooks do better in classes. They actually purchase the textbook as well, which is something that has been a struggle for many, many years. Emmanuel, thank you for bringing that up. OpenStax is another fantastic resource if you are looking for a complete textbook or even some resources to supplement your own. OpenStax is probably the first place that I usually go, and I'm so sorry I didn't bring that up on the other slide. There are so many different resources for open educational materials. But yes, OpenStax is a professional OER publishing company, and they have textbooks on everything from world history to accounting to business to physics, and they're even working to start expanding into the humanities as well. It's a fantastic resource. Thank you for bringing that up. Another benefit to OER is the fact that you have control about adding things to your textbook, especially real world events. Our world in this past year has changed so much in so many different areas, the way that we do business, the way that we interact with other people. So giving our students the ability to learn from real world current events is an amazing opportunity. And with OER, you're able to remix, rework, and adapt those materials to be exactly what you need to teach your students and exactly what your students need to go out into the world today, prepared for the world that they're going to encounter. It's a fantastic opportunity. It also means that you have the ability to save a couple of trees. Every time that we go to use a textbook, there's always sections that we don't use, sections that we wish were worded just a little bit better or a little clearer, or maybe focused more on one area instead of another area. And with open educational resources, you have the ability to do that. That means that your students can remain focused on what's important instead of going down all of these little rabbit holes that the textbook decides is important. Oops, wrong way. So Mariposa Millions is a project that we have at the district level. In their first 5 years of existence, their goal was to save students $1 million by offering grants and different programs to help faculty members transition their courses to OER. In the first 5 years, they were able to save students almost $1.5 million, and that is phenomenal. And a lot of our students struggle with the cost of textbooks. Most students, especially those who are only part-time, say that textbook costs are the number one cost associated with being a student here. And it's the one thing that most scholarships don't cover unless they're on federal aid or some of the grants that are available. But general scholarships generally don't cover textbooks and materials. And again, the less that students pay for textbooks, the more they can invest in other things that will help their future as well. And then just as a little plug for the OER Specialist program, in our first year and a half that we have been here on campus to help faculty members, we've managed to save students about $134,000. So, and that is with the work of 16 courses. We've had faculty members approach us about 16 different classes that they've wanted to transition, everything from an art history course, or actually two art history courses, to communications courses, to English courses. Your textbook might not be that expensive. You might have a $40 textbook or a $60 textbook, but recognize the fact that that adds up for every single student. So with that, we have covered so much information in such a short amount of time. I wanted to take a little bit of time to ask if you guys have any questions. Whether it's how do I find resources for my field of interest, or can you take a look at this information? I'm here to help no matter what.
So what you're saying is that we can freely use, well, we need to check each of those sources. The little logos that you had identifying all of the the types as you went down from the complete. Oh, there you go, from the top to the bottom. Are are those actually embedded in the websites or the text or the sources? I've never seen those before. They're very good, but I've never seen it before.
You will. The actual graphics that you'll see are the ones that are on this banana. So you'll see it'll be usually gray and black. Sometimes they'll do fancy things with the colors, but you'll see this on textbooks. You'll see this on PowerPoints and on web pages as well. They'll let you know down at the bottom whether it's copyright or whether it's OER. In fact, Dexter, I think I might use your example to help show Pat kind of what we're looking for. So I'm going to go on, let's see here. Let's use good old Google and let's say OER English composition. Oh, I've looked for this before apparently. Okay. So we're just going to search Google and just say, let's look for something that's OER English composition. The first thing that comes up for me is oercommons.org. Well, I know that's a good site, but if I go ahead and click on it, I can see that there are a list of all of these different resources. And underneath the resources here, I can see that I'm given the exact license that this material will be. So I know before I even click on it and even look, I want to be able to sell this material after I'm done with it. So I know that I want to look for something that doesn't have non-commercial, or I want something that all I have to do is just give attribution. I can find it right there.
I've never noticed that.
And sometimes they won't have it written out as easily as this. Sometimes you got to dig a little bit to look and see what the license is for some of these materials. On OER Commons, because it's meant for OER materials, you're even able to search and filter by the license itself. So let's go back and let's see if we can find something else. LibGuides, these library guides that are created by different libraries around the country, and we have some fantastic ones here at PVCC. A lot of times they will be a great resource to be able to quickly just find a whole variety of resources. But let's look at Lumen Learning. This is one of the resources that I mentioned, but they might have their information just a little bit hidden. So I'm just going to accept the cookies real quick. And let's take a look at this website. If I go all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to click on View Course Content. See. We're usually looking for a little icon or just a little thing about licensing. I don't see it on this one in a quick glance, so I think I'm going to go back and try and find something that's a little bit easier to notice right off the bat. Sometimes we do have to dig for the licensing information just a little bit. So I'm just going to go to Sunny. Oh, you're okay. We'll go to Valley College. I think, here we go. Okay. I'm just trying to find a really good, quick resource, and I'm going to go to Open Oregon Pressbooks. And again, we can see right here, Creative Commons attribution, non-commercial for this textbook, the Word on College Reading and Writing. So it's really a matter of sort of this hunt and peck method of, okay, I'm just going to look for this broad topic of English composition, and then I'm going to kind of narrow it down to, well, what about English composition do I want? Do I want a textbook? Do I want a course? Do I want just a resource for my course? And what we'll do is we just kind of narrow the field while still looking for OER and see what's out there. The great news about OER is if I just like one chapter out of this textbook, I don't want anything else. I just want one chapter out of this textbook, and maybe I want another chapter out of another textbook, and I just need that. I can just take the two of those and merge them into my own resource. Again, so that you can hyper-focus for your students exactly what they need. Let's see.
If you do that, then do you need to add, for example, add those little icons to your content, or do you have to say in words that you had permission to freely use this particular chapter, say?
Yes. Just like for a college paper where you would give a citation, you always want to make sure when you create a new resource, you cite it. Even if the
Right.
work is from the public domain, it's always a good idea to cite it. And for example, if I'm going to use, this is actually a great example. If I'm going to use this resource, I know that it's under the Creative Commons. I have to give attribution because I have this little by symbol, and I know that it has to be non-commercial. It does not tell me, however, that I have to share it alike. Therefore, I know with this resource that I don't have to make it available to other people to use however they want. However, in order to continue to sustain the OER environment, we like to, whenever it's equitable and whenever it's logistically possible, to always make sure that we make things available to other people and always attribute as much as we can.
Gotcha.
Great question. All right, Emmanuel, you have a question. Do books from leanpub.com qualify as OER? I have never heard of leanpub, so let's go take a look. Okay, the first thing that I see when looking at this website is earn 80% royalties self-publishing on leanpub. That says to me that some of the people who are publishing on this website are expecting to collect a profit, or royalties, if you will. So that tells me that maybe some of the books on this website are meant to be sold, so they aren't openly licensed. Let's look at, was there a specific section that you were looking at, Emmanuel?
You can, if you set the price at free, you get them for free.
Okay, you do get them
Yeah.
from free. Okay. Well, let's open one of these. Let's open this Coffee Break Python workbook. If you can't find it on the website, usually you'll find it on the first page of the textbook underneath where you would normally find copyright information. So let's take a quick peek. Coffee Break Python. Let's keep digging. Okay, it looks like I don't believe these are intended to be free. You might be able to drag these sliders down. Okay, this one isn't. We would have to do some digging on this website, especially with the specific textbooks to see, but my gut reaction to this is that it is not initially openly licensed. Openly licensed materials are free. They cannot be, I take that back. They can be sold. That's what that non-commercial means, that they can be sold. However, the majority of times you will find openly licensed materials for free. That's the reason why they exist. So my gut reaction is that this is not openly licensed, but you and I can sit down and we can sort of comb through the website and see if the specific resources that you're looking for are free.
Yeah. In some cases, you can drag, if you drag it, it comes to zero, then you don't pay. You just register, you get it free.
Gotcha. That is an example of a free resource that is still copyrighted, most likely, unless they have put inside of their textbook that they waive their copyright to it. So that means that you would then be able to use that and make that available to your students. However, it would not be openly licensed or an open educational resource. It would just be a low cost or no cost resource. However, there's nothing that says that you can't reach out to the author. For example, this one looks like it's written by Christian Mayer. There's no reason that you can't reach out to the author and say, hey, I really like your textbook. I would like to use it in my class. Can you make this section available for me to be able to put into my OER or my course? Or can you license a copy of the book or a version of the book? under a Creative Commons? Sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say no, but it never hurts to ask, especially if you let them know why you would like to do that. I'd like to cut down on costs for my students who are trying to learn Python or another program. Aha, let's look at this example. If we go here, yeah, it looks like this one does charge money. And usually what it will say is it will say somewhere in here that they make this available freely, or you'll see that Creative Commons license on the textbook somewhere. But I do not see that at first glance on this web page. But that's a great question.
Jessica, I had another question.
Yes.
Say, for example, I found a textbook by an author that was licensed under Creative Commons. Is it ever possible that they remove that Creative Commons license and then I would retroactively not be able to use that material?
Yes, my sister is actually, she is going to be taking a law course this semester, and she found the first edition of the textbook and it was openly licensed. However, the authors for that textbook decided later on, I'm going to copyright this and I'm going to start selling it. That first edition of the textbook will always be Creative Commons licensed. You will always be able to use that edition of the textbook. Subsequent editions, for example, though, would be under copyright if the copyright author chooses to make that decision. It's kind of a sour grapes situation, and not the point of OER is to make sure that things aren't copyrighted, but a lot of authors do end up making that decision, especially if their textbook becomes very, very popular or they get an offer they can't refuse from a publishing company. To answer your question, the copy or the edition that you find of that textbook that has that copyright information, as long as it comes from the author that they licensed it under that Creative Commons license, would be forever available for you to use. You would just then be responsible for updating it and making changes to it going forward.
That's great. Thank you.
No problem. Are there any other questions? I'm going to take a look at this link that Casey posted for us. Casey did some great detective work here. And we always end up becoming little detectives when we always start on OER, because you have to dig kind of deep sometimes to find the licensing for either a material or a textbook or a website in general. And Casey has a great suggestion. Always go to the copyright information about the website. And usually the easiest way to find that is to scroll all the way down to the bottom of their web page. Sometimes they'll have copyright policies. Sometimes they'll tell you that this website is copyright. In turn, they might also say, hey, this is a public or a Creative Commons website, and everything on this website except for where mentioned is under this license. Are there any other questions? And again, if this feels overwhelming, do not worry. That is why the OER specialists are here. We are here to answer every question. If you find a resource and you're just not sure, send us an email, send us a copy of it, and we can tell you whether it's openly licensed or not, and how you can use it, and when you can use it and when you can't use it, things like that. That's what brings me joy. Definitely. Thank you so much, Pat. No worries. A copy of this presentation, a recording of this presentation and the slides that I used will be available on the Learning Week website. So you will be able to view the entire presentation or go back and review it if you would like. Thank you so much, Paula. Paula is one of our amazing librarians and she keeps me going. Constantly feeding me new projects and ideas, and I love it. Anytime, Marianne. Thank you so much. I love the minutia. I love the little details of this. This is why I love this job so much. Oh, no worries. The list of OER resources, and let me go to that real quick, is right here. There is not really a central, there are lots of places that have lists of good OER repositories. These PowerPoint slides will also be up on the website, so you can come back to this PowerPoint presentation anytime that you would like. And I agree, there are lots of different places to go to. Perfect. Yes, a screenshot, or I tend to do just a picture on my phone. That way it's always in a central place where I can find it. That's a great idea, Corey. Just going to go to the last slide. Down here at the bottom, you can see the email address for the OER specialists. If you send an email there, it will go to all of the OER specialists. I'm not alone in that. I have a team of 2 fantastic OER specialists, Taylor and Alita, who are also students who do great work in helping us to create OER and to just make sure that we can help as many faculty as we can.
Jessica, can you go back to that previous slide so I can get a picture?
Yes. There you go.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Usually when we're in person, I have a little printout that has like all the whole list and it has some tips and stuff that we go over, and I just give that to everybody. But unfortunately, in an online environment, it's hard to give handouts.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Are there any other questions that I can answer?
Before you go, this may be an unrelated question for you, but